Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline. A little bit of a quicker one this time. Not sure why. Maybe I wasn't feeling the need to bore you to tears. Or maybe I just had less to go through. There was no TV. That was the reason. Damn it. When is it time to diet again? Should you diet in a stress environment? Yes or no? What are the benefits to changing parts of your diet? Pros, cons, better, worse? Going outside of your comfort zone? And coming full circle. All of this and more, like movies, kind of, and a lot of computer game stuff to go through. But as I say, no TV. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Leave a comment where you can leave a comment. And do please share the podcast around. It means a lot to us. It helps us out. Even if you just say to someone, you might like this, give it a listen. It's still a big help. So thank you. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. The Darkest Timeline. Hello. How you doing? You well? You good? Good. Are you good? Good. Part of me feels like I always have to go through if you're not doing too good at this moment in time, please do reach out. Because it's kind of how I've opened all podcasts for a while. Part of me is like, if you've listened to it more than once, then you know that. But obviously you might be new. And if you're new, hello. Mix of things today. A real mixture. Some things that you may consider to be regular stuff may be missing. I didn't watch any TV this week. Outside of that, a mix, let's say. I have had a frog in my throat all day. So, look forward to that sound for the next hour or so. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Few subjects that are probably, I don't want to be like, oh, they're probably boring at this point, because honestly, if they're boring, this might not be for you. Oh, there it is. So I've made a decision. I'm going to lock in till the end of the year. Not yet, but soon. What do I mean by this? Well, what I'm sure some people would consider favourite subject. I have decided that I am going to properly diet. Yes, properly diet for the last exactly 2 months of the year. Will run for literally to the day 2 months. Basically, with stresses and strains, I want to get my eldest's birthday out of the way. It brings with it a variety of different things. Obviously, the big one being there's going to be cake. So, you know. She's got all sorts of stuff going on that week. So much stuff that I am very much in the camp of. I don't want to be trying to do something that's going to be stressful when things are already going to be stressful. Also, she's not the only child of mine that's got a lot going on that week. My middle daughter's got stuff going on. My youngest daughter's got stuff going on. My middle daughter and youngest daughter have got stuff going on. My son has got stuff going on. And I'm just like, I just need to ride this wave to the other side. And then once I've reached the other side, I can then focus for want of a better way of putting it, a little bit more on me. In preparation for the impending diet, I've been playing around with some stuff. I think I might have mentioned last week maybe. Playing around with some carbohydrate stuff. So for the last week I've been going a little heavy. And also would say heavy on the carbohydrates just to see what effect it would have. Also, as well as eating more carbohydrates, eating more as a rule, having had the realization that there's a possibility that day in, day out, I'm not eating enough, I was like, well, let's see if we can sort of push these boundaries, add some carbohydrates into the mix, go a little bit more, and just see what might happen as far as that's concerned. So I've got some interesting results to go through. I have cycled off, if you want, if that's how we want to discuss this. Short version is I haven't taken creatine for a week. And we can go through those results. Some interesting results that I don't know how I feel. Stepping on the scales this morning, and also a visual element to discuss, so let's get into it. Eating more is, let's face it, the diet's worst enemy. You're always trying to eat less, right up to the point that you realise that you might actually not be eating enough, and with the knowledge that not eating enough also has a series of problems, and, you know, trying to achieve the best, trying to do the best, trying to be the best. Team America, anyone? So eating more feels weird, but when it's an experiment, well. And I'm not eating cake and ice cream for breakfast. Got a jumper situation to deal with. 1 second. So, what do I mean? Well, eating more carbohydrates, when you want to increase your carbohydrates, yay! Eating more carbohydrates fills you up more, considerably more. Like, you spend a lot of your time like, oh my God, I'm so full. Whereas other versions of a diet, especially like the one that I've been doing more recently, you don't quite get that, you know, satiation. Was it last week I looked that word up and it turned out it was a word and I hadn't just completely made it up? So, you eat more carbohydrates, you're more full, less room for other things. And as you might imagine, the times that you step on the scales, you go, holy shit, that's a lot of weight. Some of it's, you know, oh, well, the food's denser, takes longer to digest, etc., etc., etc. So you have to sort of ride the wave, I guess. Especially when you then have a fasting day, and you see all that additional weight just go. It's a big change. You're talking like 6 pounds difference between eating more and eating higher carbohydrate count. A little less of this, a little less of that, a little more of this, a little more of that sort of system. And that weight just goes up and up and up and up and up. And then, like I say, you drop 6 pounds in a day and you're like, there, problem solved. But it isn't, because obviously the next day you're straight back to putting weight on. So that's that. So, I think last Monday was the last day that I had creatine. So it's been a week at this point in time. I think I'm going to start again, back at it tomorrow. I am going to reduce the amount and see what results that has. Basically, I was doing 10 grams, maybe. I think I'm just going to do 5 going forward. And just see what the difference is there. So, plus side, I've been carrying a lot of additional water, like water weight, which I hadn't realised until I stopped taking creatine. So I stopped taking creatine, and what happened was I dropped these like 2 particular pockets of water, and that was super cool. Really happy about that. I was like, oh my God, that's what's going on there. And there's a much longer story to how I realised that this was a thing. Somebody that I've been sort of following YouTube-wise, podcast-wise, revealed that they had the exact same problem. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, creatine makes you hold on to water. So stopping it, shed all the water. So that's kind of like the upside. I've noticed it a lot more around the middle. But another area that I've noticed is in the arms. So something that was happening with the arms was with the addition of creatine, the arms were getting very defined. But personally, I felt that they were getting quite skinny. Which, the two kind of go together. I guess they're kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, more definition, but thinner. For somebody that puts a lot of time and effort into sort of lifting weights and things like that, you want to see the results. So you want the big arms. It's always the go-to. You want the glamour muscles. Little something for the ladies, as they say. So there was that kind of, it doesn't look as big, but it looks more defined. So there was that. There's like a lot of like in the forearms, like the actual individual, almost like muscle fibers were becoming more evident, and I was a lot more vascular, which is interesting in itself. The hands, the arms, etc. So all of that's changed. Now then, when you put the more carbohydrates with the no creatine, the arms have changed. So the arms are now big. Bigger in the arms. There's a real clear difference. There's a real sort of, oh, that's a much bigger arm. The definition is gone. So you're like, well, you're fueling the muscle with all the carbohydrates, and protein and stuff, but losing almost all of that definition. It's just like a big kind of blob kind of thing more now, rather than like, oh, look at that and look at that and look at that. Now you just like, look at that thing. But obviously when you're like, I'm going to put this t-shirt on, oh, it's a bit tight in the arms, it kind of makes you feel good. You're kind of a bit like, yeah, I like it. Yeah. That kind of leaving the house in that kind of situation, you're a bit like, yeah, sweet. So there's that. From a cognitive perspective, have I noticed any sort of slowdown, any degradation? I would say no. And that's where the difference comes in, because when I started taking creatine, I will say this again, I used to take it years ago. When I started taking creatine again, that is the one thing that I noticed a real change in, like more than any body aspect. The thing I noticed a real change in was my mental capacity. I had better recall. I don't know. I'd love to look up a study around creatine and sleep quality. I felt, yeah, I would say over the last couple of weeks, I've had terrible sleep. So I don't know specifically that it's like creatine related. But I don't know, maybe it's a water thing. You hold on to more water, so I don't know how that would help you sleep better. It's good for its cognitive benefit. So maybe there's something to it there. One thing I will, hang on a minute. Oh, no, okay. So, I thought I'd covered it later in my notes. I haven't, so I'll talk about it now. Stepping on the scales this morning, the end result of my higher carbohydrate and no creatine week was I put on 2 pounds. I don't feel... I feel a mixture about this. I feel good, I feel bad, and I feel indifferent. Good. It could have been worse. I do think it could have been a lot worse. I won't tell you. Actually, no, I will tell you. Yesterday morning, I stepped on the scales 9 pounds heavier than last Monday. 9 pounds in 6 days. And let's not forget, I'll have fasted a day in there. So you've got that side of things. Now, I will say I fasted yesterday. So coming into this morning, I was hopeful, but not completely hopeful. I would have had to have lost 9 pounds. So that ain't happening. I think I'd lost 6 first weigh-in and 7 combined by official weigh-in. So 2 pounds more than I was last week. There was a part of me that was kind of okay with that. There was a part of me that wasn't, because I want to be going down, not up. And then there was that part of me in the middle that's like, well, this was an experiment. Something that has come out of this is the question of, do you look better when things look fuller? Shall we say? Arms fuller, chest fuller, torso fuller. Do you look better? Because I wonder if there's an argument to say yes. Anybody, you see those like before and afters, and the picture was taken on the same day. They just shaved the person, added a tan and some baby oil, and got them to lift weights for half an hour. That kind of thing. Before and after. Apparently, there was a study done recently where they asked a group of women to rate whether a person with the dad bod before and the ripped bod after years or months of dieting and working out was better. And something like 80% of the women asked said that the dad bod looked better. So, is there an argument to say that you look better when your body looks fuller? I will come on to something. I'll double back to this because I don't know if you sort of understand, but the week and the notes go in order of the week. So I could almost date some of these things. This will have been written last Monday or Tuesday sort of thing. So, So, for now, let's put a pin in that and we'll move on to something completely different. I want to talk about going outside of your comfort zone. This is a subject I've brought up in the past and talked at length about. I'd like to talk about it again. I was recently presented with a situation which would have involved me going outside of my comfort zone. Majorly. So, there was a day where I was like, right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get it done. And I'm going to, if it's still a thing, I'm going to do it and I'm going to get it done. And then that'll be good. And I'll have done it and I've got it done. And that day came and went without me doing it. Next day, today's the day. Here we go. Got to get it done today. I'll do it early and then it's out of the way. I'll get it done. I'm going to do it today. Get it done. Get it out of the way. By lunchtime, had not been done. I'm absolutely going to do. I'm just going to do this and then I'm definitely doing it. That day came and went. Day 3 of I'm definitely going to do this thing. I was unable to because I wasn't in the position to do it. Day 4. On day 4, things were different. I don't know whether it was how I was feeling at that time. I don't know. I don't know if I mentioned like last week. I've not been in the best of places recently. I feel like a lot of stuff at the moment is like doom and gloom. Like outside the house, outside in the world, doom and gloom. When I go to work, doom and gloom. When I'm at home, doom and gloom. And I'm just like, everything's fine. But it's not. And I think I gave up saying things were fine at one point. And I just started saying, nah, everything's shit. So day 4, I was like, I can spend my time saying today's going to be the day and then not doing it. And then this thing's going to pass me by and I'm going to regret it. Or I can just do it. I know this sounds, largely dumb because of course, and it's obvious. But you personally think about something that would be outside of your comfort zone that you would have to do right now. Tell someone that you don't want to be in a relationship with them anymore. Tell somebody that you want to leave your job and travel the world. Tell somebody that you want to move out. Tell somebody that you're secretly in love with them. Tell somebody that you wrote your car off or you wrote their car off. Tell somebody that you're secretly, a millionaire and you've never told anyone. Think of all of the things in your life that would put you outside of your comfort zone and think about doing it right now. Is it that easy? Yeah. So, day 4, I'm like, I could just spend the rest of today being like, I'm going to do it, but I'll do it. Or I can just do it. And then it's done. And it's done. I was like, I'm going to trick myself. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a message. I'm going to make sure that message is all correct spelling, grammar, the works. Make it so that message is absolutely ready to send. It's the best possible message I can put together and it's ready to send. And then I'm just going to leave it there on the screen. And if I accidentally press the send, hit enter or whatever you want to say, then so be it. I wrote this long thing, I checked it, double checked it, spell checked it, grammar checked it, the whole thing. And then rather than just leaving it sat there staring at it, I just pressed enter and went, well, that's that done. I was shaking after this. I felt sick. I spoke to a friend and I was like, I've had this situation where I've had to do this thing. It's proper outside my comfort zone, but I've done it. And they were like, yeah, good on you. I was like, 20 minutes later, I'm like, I've had a message back. Oh, what's going on? Oh, they said this. I've gone back with this. They were like, that's all you can do. I was like, yeah, but I am proper bricking it at this point in time. So there was a lot of shaking, a lot of worry. And basically, the other person was like really accommodating, really sort of like, yeah, absolutely, no worries. Blah, blah, blah. And we arranged to have a conversation. So then I had to wait because they were like, oh, should we chat now? And I was like, no, I'm busy. I was like, let's talk later. They were like, sure. I was like, okay. And then later came, so I was like, right, I need to get ready. I need to prepare myself. I need to mentally prepare myself. And I took myself off, took a moment, and then I was like, right, here we go. And I did it, and I had a conversation, and the conversation was pretty fucking awful, if I'm honest. It was so incredibly stereotypical that the sort of stereotypical that I didn't think existed anymore. Like, there was so much prejudice. So much prejudice involved. So much that I was like, I genuinely didn't think this was a thing anymore. I didn't think this was allowed to be a thing. There were points where I was like, is this legal right now? I don't think it is. I was like, if this was a different situation, and I was, very courteous and had a conversation and was like, okay, right, fine. And I was like, that's great, thank you very much, whatever. And I walked away from it, and I was like, what an absolute waste of fucking time that was. And I walked away, and I felt pretty fucking grotty, and I felt pretty fucking awful. And I was like, that was a giant waste of my time. And it was a giant waste of my feelings. And I was like, that's proper Billy fucking bullshit, that is. So, again, I went and spoke to the person I'd been talking to previously, and I was like, nah, that was a fucking waste of time. They were like, really? I was like, yeah, absolutely. It was like, and I went through a lot of I went through some of the sort of the prejudices, and I was like, I didn't even think this was a thing anymore. Like, it's interesting, the things you learn. That was kind of that. Anybody want to guess what my next thought, feeling, emotion around this was? You already know the answer. Of course it was. But at least I did it, and at least I got it done. And now I can sort of move on with having had that experience where I've gone, okay, I stepped outside my comfort zone, I got slapped in the mouth for it, and I stepped back inside my comfort zone with that experience in my bag. Yeah, didn't go the way I wanted it to. Most things in life rarely do. But I've gained that. I did it. And honestly, I think it's a tactic in the future I will use again. Write a message, make sure it's good to go, and just send it. One of the most useful things I've heard recently, which I use all the time now, is you can't help the way someone else feels. Now that's very much obvious, but you can apply it to stuff. So, for example, you write a text message, and in your text message you put blah, 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 yada, 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 da, 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 da. And one of the things in that message you have written in a particular way, and you send your message, and the other person receives it, and they read it a different way to the way you meant it. And rather than reading it like, oh, that's brilliant, that's great, they read it like, oh, well, isn't that brilliant and great? And they take offence. That's nothing to do with you. That's not your problem. And again, you could think, maybe I could have written it better. Or maybe not. Maybe it's their choice. You can't do anything about their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I have spent more hours of my life reading, writing, rewriting, rereading, asking other people to read, and being like, oh, what if I say that? Oh, well, no, because what I want them to think I mean by that is I want them to understand that what I'm trying to say is, are you free tomorrow? So what I've written is 19 pages on that subject. A number of times people are like, you could just put, are you free tomorrow? It's like, yeah, but I don't want to be too forward. Nowadays, I'll write 19 pages and then go, delete the whole thing and put, are you free tomorrow? And that has been one of the most useful tools going. You can't help what the other person feels. I sent a message the other day and I was like, honestly, this sounds callous, but I'll explain. I was like, honestly, I don't care what the other person thinks. What I mean by that was I was giving them a long list of, here's a load of stuff I'm prepared to do for you that helps you out. And it's going to ease your burden. And it's going to cost me money. And it's going to cost you nothing. And it's going to ease your life in a multitude of ways. And because that's what I was saying, I wrote a message that was like, well, here's this. And I just sent it. Because as I said, I was having a conversation about it. And I was like, honestly, I don't really care. I'm doing them a favour. So what? They're going to take offence to the message I send. I'm still doing them a favour at the end of the day. So what? It's liberating. Let's say liberating. It's obviously a seasonal thing. I feel like I've been down this road before. Really not been enjoying my climbing as of late. I felt like I was on a particular trajectory with climbing a little while ago. I'd moved on to a new level. I was feeling good. I'd done some stuff that other people, like the people in my house that are better climbers than me, weren't able to do. I felt like I was the best climber, quite frankly. And I felt good about this. More recently, I have been struggling with the basics. And I mean the fucking basic bitch basics. I don't know what's been going on. I have to presume it's a me thing rather than anyone or anything else. I have to presume it's me. But not enjoying it. Now, going back, I will say this. I'm not enjoying much about life at the moment. I feel that there's a lot to not enjoy rather than there's a lot to enjoy. And that is just, I think, a statement on the world as a whole, if I'm honest. But yeah, I've been in this position before where I'm like, I can't do this and I can't do that and I'm shit at this and I'm shit at that and I don't know why I bother going. And part of me has been thinking about it recently and thinking, was this the same time last year? Was it just that funk of you get up and it's dark and you go out and it's dark and cold and you have to go and like do a thing in the cold and the dark and it's going to affect the rest of your day and you're going to be like grumpy because you're tired, and then to add on top of that you don't achieve anything? Is it really all that worthwhile at that point? So there's part of me that's like, is this a thing? Is this just like a seasonal thing? Is this how I feel seasonally? I don't know. I went Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, as I usually do. Those are my days. And Wednesday's always the same. I always set out to achieve all of the same type of route in the hour that I'm there. And for months at this point, I've achieved that. However, now I can't. So we're already off to a bad start. Thursday is the day that I use I do a warm-up and then I do, right, I'm going to do this. Either stuff that I've done and I want to make sure I can still do. Stuff that I've tried and failed and I want to try and get. And then for the last 15 minutes or so, I try stuff that's new but harder, stuff that I'd maybe like to work on in the future and want to get a feel for and a start for and all of this. I've been finding myself recently getting to, like, I'm there at 6:30, I have to put chalk and tape on my hands on a Thursday. By the time I'm ready to climb, it's like 20 to 7. Come 7 o'clock, I'm ready to go home. I'm like, I don't know why I come. I don't know why I'm here. It's crazy busy these days. And I'm just like, why the fuck do I bother? And then I go on a Saturday and I've had a nice long run and I get there and I'm more capable and more able and I start doing stuff that I haven't been able to do during the week. And I'm like, yeah, great, cool. This is cool. I'm really okay Jonesing with this. Come Wednesday, can't do any of the stuff I was able to do on the Saturday because my body's not as limber. I'm not pumped up on adrenaline and I'm just like, I'm shit at this. I'm a shit climber. Don't know why I bother. And so the cycle continues. I have a story to tell, but I don't know where to start with the story. That's not true. I do know where to start, but it means going back a little ways. Had a conversation a couple of weekends ago about achieving the goals that I've achieved over the last year. I was talking to somebody who has also achieved a lot of their goals for the year. A friend of mine had a bit of a health scare and decided to make a load of changes. Looks fantastic for it. I can only imagine what sort of health benefits it's given, and I can only imagine how much they have extended their life by purely because of making what I imagine in some ways is a series of small changes. They look great, and I'm like, I'm really happy for you. I'm super, super happy. You don't want to be the person who's like, I'm really impressed. I'm proud of you, because it's not always your place to say that, but maybe that's how I feel. Maybe. So I was saying like some of the stuff I've been doing, some of the achievements, some of the things I've been messing with. I was talking about this sort of carbohydrate thing and all this and the other, blah, 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 blah. Talking about like body changes and stuff. And I was like, the way that I keep on track these days is I set myself an unrealistic goal, an unachievable goal. And the reason it's unachievable is because my body won't let it be possible. And the goal I set myself was that I wanted to see visible abs. When I was 19 years old, got out of bed one morning, looked down, and I went, holy shit, I've got abs. And I said to the person I was with at the time, I was like, look, I've got abs. And they were like, oh yeah. And I was like, my God, I never thought this was going to be a thing, ever, in my wildest dreams. Blah, 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 all of this. And that lasted about a day. And that was kind of the end of that, really. And then for the next 15 years, I basically tried to eat myself into an early grave. And that was the end of that. And there was a part of me that when I started getting like super serious about losing all the weight, I started getting down and down and down, further and further and further. There was a point where I was like, oh, maybe one day I'd maybe like to be able to get back to that place. Then when I started getting like really serious about like trying to dial stuff up, like the gym stuff, trying to like really get the most out of my sort of exercises and things, again, it was kind of like, oh, well, what if I could do this? What if I could do that? What if I could make this more of a thing? What about this? What about that? And there'd been like a couple of sort of like body changes along the way that really sort of gave me a boost. When the first of the man boobs decided to leave me, I was like, yay. The second one is still hanging on for dear life. It's very odd at this point. One is just gone. It's just not there anymore. The other one's like, I think we'll hang around a bit and see how this pans out. I'm like, can you fuck off? So there was a point in time where I started getting some sort of like separation going on. And I said, this conversation I was having, I was like, I set myself this unrealistic goal. The unrealistic goal was I wanted to see abs. I was like, it's unrealistic because I have like this kind of pouch, and ultimately there's no such thing as targeted weight loss. You lose weight basically from your head down. I have a series of hats that are very loose these days. It annoys me. I've had to change the strap on my watch twice so far, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to do it again. So, it's all that, but the area you want to lose it is around your stomach. And you're like, that's the last place for it to go. So, obviously, when it works head down, like you start seeing stuff in your chest. And I was like, oh, this is an interesting situation. And that was kind of that. That was kind of the end of that. Recently, I've got to the point, because I do a lot of core work these days in the hope of sort of one day maybe, that kind of thing. I do a lot of core work these days. Some of the core work is quite grueling. I've actually taken it out of one of my workout days because I was listening to something a little while ago that was talking about how basically doing core on a leg day is, shall we say, dumb. I won't use the words that we used. So, move it from one place to another, still keep doing it. I've been doing some really high intensity core stuff. I tried doing what's apparently the best ab exercise you can do. And I tried it, and then for the next day was in absolute agony. So that can only be a good thing. And that kind of stuff. I, a little while ago, developed the part of the anatomy that I only know one name for, and it's not a name you use in polite company, but I don't know any other name for this part of the body. So I keep going to people and going, oh, I've recently developed. And that's the end of that conversation, because you can't say the type of area of the body you've developed, the gutters of a certain description. But that sort of turned up at one point in time, and it was a bit like, ooh, cool. And it's just like that sort of stuff. But ultimately, I kind of resign myself to it's never going to happen. Stopped taking creatine a week ago. Just remind me again, what is it that creatine does? That's right, it holds on to water. So when you shed a load of water, what happens is you get that sort of that, not dehydrated, but you get a more dehydrated look, I suppose. One morning, I get out of bed, I stand up, and I walk past the mirror, and I stop, and I go back, and I go, what the fuck is that? And I'd been dealing with this sort of part of like below the ribs. I was like, I'm pretty sure that that's like the top two abs. But it's just like my stomach goes in rather than where it previously went out. And I was like, okay. Walked past the mirror, went back and was like, the fuck is going on there? Because the line that was running down from my chest had carried on. And there they were. Ab 1 and 2, loud and proud. And I was like, holy shit. Something else that's developed recently is that the bottom, that they are abs because they're part of the abdominal muscles, but it's the low two that are like big triangles. They're not like the little round thing. They're like a real big triangle. And, if somebody's got like that kind of that sort of look where you can see the abs, they're there. If you've got, I think it's like if you get is it the 8 rather than the 6? Where is it? 2, and then 4, and then that's the 6. That's the ones that are just not. And then it's the one below. So it's like if you get the 8, you'd have the one below. So recently, I've also that whole development is there, but covered up by a lot. But I can feel that it's there. I'm like, whoa. Got a little obsessed. Kept telling people to like touch the innie bit. So that was that. And I'm like, hang on a minute, I've put weight on. How is it I'm seeing abs if I've put weight on? And this was what I was saying that I was going to double back to. Is it possible that looking fuller whilst carrying less water was going to actually produce a better look? This morning, so weigh in, day of fasting, no creatine, still in the high carb area. This morning, look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my fucking God, bro. Because the line underneath the top two abs had come in. I'm like, fucking hell, man. Now, I know that, you know, it's one of those things. Achieving six-pack abs when you're once a fat man is, you know, to me, it's an achievement, but not something that I'm realistically going to achieve. But, as I said in the conversation I was having, realistically, it's what keeps me on track. Because if I'd keep going with, maybe one day I'll see abs, when I know that I probably won't, like I say, it keeps you moving forwards. And forward motion is the motion that we like. My eldest had a friend to stay at the weekend, and they were looking for something to watch. I'm like, do you know the film that you should watch? You should make it that you watch the film Pitch Perfect. And there was a little bit of like, oh yeah, maybe, you know, I've been trying to get her to watch it for a little while. I was like, yeah, this is absolutely your sort of movie. There were questions about some of the subject matter, but I was like, it's within her age range. She should be able to watch this film. According to the BBFC or whatever it is, she should be allowed to watch this film. Her friend is into a bit different stuff, I guess. And they can usually just about find something that they'll both agree to watch. So I was like, you could suggest this and see what happens. The suggestion was made and was accepted after watching a trailer. So off they went to watch this film. I said to her, I was like, I find it very interesting that you're going to watch this film, because this film got me through a very, very dark time in my life. I didn't really go into much more because I didn't feel it was sort of necessary. But I was like, I remember a time where I would either lie in bed and just watch Pitch Perfect, or sit on the sofa and watch it like 4 times in a week. And I know, you know, say what you want, like, oh, it's a girls' movie or whatever, but there are a lot of men I know, manly men, who think it's a great film. But I said to Leanne, I was like, oh, it's come full circle. The eldest is going to watch Pitch Perfect. And she was like, really? Like, uh-huh. They're going to watch it. So, yeah, it's a very poignant time in the Cook household. Final thing for the week. My eldest child, my dearest child, decided that she was going to test some boundaries this weekend. Now, these are the boundaries I like that get tested. Rather than being, you know, out there being naughty or anything like that. She decided to test the boundaries of taking the piss. And I went, good one. Yeah, I like that. Told me categorically that my achievement of losing 6 stone in recent times Wasn't really that much of an achievement, was it? I made sure that she understood that, that was hilarious. So there's a point where she's making fun of me. And I'm like, oh, we're trying this one out, are we? She was like, what do you mean? I was like, we're trying the boundaries of, oh, can you make fun of me? I was like, I actively encourage you to continue down this road. 100%. I'm with you all the way. I was like, however, do understand this. I have been on this planet a lot longer than you have, and I'm a lot better at this than you are. And I don't really pull my punches in a situation where we're making fun of each other. So, if you want to continue down this route, feel free. But just be aware I'm probably going to be better at this. And I could see the cogs turning. And she was like, yeah. And that was the end of that. And I was like, oh man, I could have had some fun. And then proceeded to take the piss out of her for the rest of the weekend by going, oh yeah, but it's not really that much of an achievement, is it? I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. So, she's not going to get away with that one. I have felt a bit... It's not nostalgic. I had this weird sort of thing a couple of weeks ago where I started like randomly thinking about some of the DC animated movies. I've been on a bit of a DC kick recently. I've been watching some animated stuff recently. Obviously, things go in phases. Basically, I'm working myself up to... At some point, I'm going to stump up the money to buy the latest Superman so we can watch it at home. And that'll be that. But until I can afford to do that, I've just been watching all sorts of DC related stuff. I've been doing a DC movie rewatch to get into like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, Flash, Blue Beetle. Was that it? Anyway, I watched a couple of the animated movies. I watched All-Star Superman, which is based on a story of... it's another, like, Death of Superman story, but for a different reason. Superman becomes overpowered and dies because of it. However, as Lois Lane says, I don't believe he's dead. I believe he'll just come back, which obviously is a thing that he does. And then I watched Superman Batman Apocalypse, which is basically a Supergirl story, but has like some Justice League members in, and Doomsday, Darkseid and stuff like that. Both absolute bangers. The All-Star Superman one was the one that I wanted to watch because I was like, I'm sure there's a lot in this movie that covers a massive amount of Superman's additional abilities. I like stuff that explores, like, let's face it, over the years, Superman is basically a god at this point in time. Like being able to fly and be fast and super strong, heat vision, freeze breath, hearing. You know, as a superhero, they just literally like just put more mods on. Basically, they just tagged more and more and more and more on. And then you get into like all these sort of strange ones where there's like the telescopic vision, like he can like zoom into stuff really. So it was covered a little bit in the sort of Snyder stuff, like they do that like weird zooming thing. Because that's supposedly a Superman power. So there's that. But I do like the stuff where they sort of talk about, like, you know, the stuff he's doing when he's not Supermaning. So yeah, you know, interesting to sort of get those watched. I think I bought one recently that was cheap, and I think that sort of spurred me on to watch them because, you know, you buy something, you should probably use it. Computer. I was saying no TV. I've not been in a TV space recently. Speaking of space, see where I did there. A lot of space stuff this week as far as games are concerned. I have continued to play Hard Space Shipbreaker. I mean, I'm just kind of hooked on it, really. I got to a bit where they were like, oh, you can deal with this new ship now. They were like, you just need to turn off these 3 things. And I was like, okay. And I turned one off. And I think I tried to turn another one off and blew myself up and was a bit like, I'm not sure if this is getting a little bit too much. Like, I spent ages trying to do this one particular ship. And every time I did, like, the fuel tank bit, I just blew them up, and which blew up like the back end of the ship, and then ultimately you lose all of the what's referred to as salvage. And then at one point in time, I just randomly found this switch which basically turned the fuel off, and I was like, cool. So that time when I dismantled it completely, got a lot of money, and I was like, yeah, I did it. The next time after that, flicked the switch, everything's great, did a thing, and once again blew up the entire back of the ship. I'm like, but I turned the switch off. So I think there's some sort of like intricacies with things like that. And like I say, now that it's like, oh, you need to do these 3 things before you can do this, I'm a bit like, I'm not sure if this maybe gone a little bit far at this point. I haven't written it down, but me and my eldest played a little bit of DC Universe over the weekend. She managed to level her character up to level 30 and move into sort of the end game stuff. Not sure that she was super enamored with it. I expected her to be like, oh my god, now I can do this and this and this. And we can do this together and we can try this. And there was none of that. Like, it was almost like it was an anticlimax for her. I was a bit like, oh, I thought you'd be more excited. I think, if I had to guess, it was probably because everything up to that point was me and her together. And now there is an element of, oh, well, now you have to do this on your own and this on your own. And what I didn't realise was that those things that I told her she had to do on her own, she absolutely didn't. We could have done like them differently and done them together, so that was my fault. It's spooky season, so you need a spooky game. The game I bought to be my spooky season game did not quite pan out the way I wanted, so I put Dead Space Remaster on, and unfortunately found that I must have played it many, many times because I've upgraded absolutely everything in that game. I have continued to play it and basically have just gone with what new and interesting ways can I kill all of the enemies. It's kind of been fun, if I'm honest, and I'm still playing it. I've also installed it to Steam, and that's kind of playing it from the beginning. I do need to go back to Chronos New Dawn. That was the game I was talking about. And just give it another go and just see if there's any way that I can sort of progress it on and push it on or whatever, but I wasn't super enamored with it, unfortunately. There's a couple of games on my horizon, and there's a couple of games that are supposed to come out between now and the end of the year that I'm very much interested in. But obviously we're moving into the back end of the year, and because of that, you don't want to be buying too much stuff, if you know what I mean. Finally, Into the Radius 2. I think I've mentioned this already, and I think I've talked about this at length, but I very much want them to put it back into the proper version of the game, so it's not in beta anymore, because it's just too difficult as it is at the moment. I've got like a main mission to go and do, but I just can't bring myself to do it because weapons degrade too much, it uses too much ammo, it uses too much health, It's just too difficult as the vanilla version of the game. And I've looked at like some settings to make it sort of easier or whatever, and it's just not there. So I'm kind of like, I want you to put it back to the proper game so I can just chuck a load of mods on it. Problem that I've got is a couple of the games that are coming out between now and the end of the year are VR games. So if I want to play other VR games, I am going to have to take a step away from Into the Radius. So yeah, there is that to consider. There we go. That's a podcast. A little bit quicker than usual. Interesting. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I will catch you next time. So there you go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another one gone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being here. If you want to be a bigger part of this whole entire thing, like, share, subscribe, comment. Leave a review. Leave a comment. There are lots of places to do this. Pick one or pick them all. Your choice. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
You've just listened to another episode of Cookie Cast. Thanks for listening.